Whatever the time of the year, Christmas never seems to be very far away, and Christmas, of course, is the time for candles. But the unaccompanied candle is somewhat dreary. It's very much improved by a decorative surround, and that's what you can make very easily with stuff you may have around the kitchen, or at least you can get hold of very easily. Let me show you. I think the best thing to use is thick foil, and that comes in the form of either disposable pie plates, or better yet, the sort of container you get takeaway Chinese food or curries in, a boat like that. And you start by reducing that to a rectangle by cutting down the corners, there, 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 and there. And when you spread that out, being careful, because of course it's quite sharp metal, you get a sort of Maltese cross of aluminium foil. I haven't cut that very well. Let's try that again. Right. Now, you don't need all of that. You want to get the biggest rectangle you can, which means cutting off the ends. So let's turn it around and chop off through there, and the same place on the other side. That's going to give a decent sort of width and length of aluminium foil. And I suppose really, since it's got crimped ends there and there, we ought to cut those off too, because they'll just get in the way. And once you've done that, you have to put it on a flat surface and reduce the whole thing to one nicely rolled or flattened sheet of aluminium. So let's try that by putting it on a very flat surface and scraping it with a ruler. Here goes. Now you notice it curls up when you do this, so work on one side to both ends and then turn it over and do the same thing. You'll find if you're careful, it'll flatten out, and that's exactly what you want, a rectangle of aluminium. Now those edges are very sharp and cutting, and they could hurt you. So you make sure they're safe by placing a ruler like this, and with a ballpoint pen, scoring down there. You'll notice it puts a good crease in the aluminium, and you can fold it up against the ruler, and then press down with the ruler to crimp that end over. And that not only provides an edge which is doubled over and therefore safe for your fingers, but it's also a lot stronger. So do it on both sides, but make sure that end and that end are the same width. Otherwise it won't meet itself when you coil it round, which is what you're going to do. Let's try this. Once again, with the ballpoint, up against the ruler, and then flatten it out to make the strong edge. Now that's the basic candle surround. It's going to go in a circle, you see, as you crimp it round, but it will be tedious to put the pattern all the way through that. You can do better. You can wrap it around something that is in itself round, broomstick or doweling. And the thinner the doweling, the easier it is to make the pattern, but the harder it is to work it. So I think the best thing to do is to go for something like a broomstick. You can see I've already worked a number of patterns into that broomstick that I've got here. Let's show you how I did those. First of all, place it very square on the aluminium foil. Be careful of the ends, because we haven't crimped them yet. And then roll it round so that the edges come to lie on top of each other. Here we go. Very tightly coiled and keeping everything aligned. And when you get to the end, keep it in place with a bit of sticky tape, like that. Now you can pattern it, and because it's wrapped round itself, every hole you make through it will make about 3 holes in the total surround. Let me show you. A hammer and a nail, and use a nail that's fairly blunt, because that'll make a bigger hole. It's the light shining through the holes that will produce the pattern, so you don't want the holes too small. Well, let's say I wanted to do a line around it. I would start perhaps here, ding all the way through, that's pierced all the thicknesses of aluminium, and keep going. And eventually I'll meet myself on the other side to make a continuous circuit. If I wanted to do a star, I would perhaps do it in the middle here, and knowing that the aluminium foil is wrapped round itself 3 or 4 times, I know I'll get 3 or 4 stars. I just keep working like that, filling in all the aluminium with pierced patterns. And I think that will do the job, because almost all of that cylinder is now covered with pattern. There are not many spaces to put more in. So if I now rip off the tape and unroll it, you can see that I've got a continuous strip with a repeated pattern. If I hold that to the light, that should come through. But of course I don't want it like that. I want it in a cylinder, and I have to join the ends round like that. And this is the way you do it. No glue, no nothing. Hold it and flatten it out reasonably, and you have to make those ends come into each other rather like your hands when they grip like this, one into the other. And so we do that by taking the outside, the outside curve, if you like, and once again with the ruler and the pen, we draw a line down there and push the metal up, in this case only halfway, like that, or perhaps a little bit further, but not all the way down. Then you take the inside curve at the other end and do the same thing. Ruler, pen, and fold it up a bit more than halfway. And you'll see then that once you curve the two around, the one will lock into the other. And there we are. And of course aluminium foil is so thin that if you take care not to cut yourself, you can crimp the whole thing down with your fingers and finally seal it by putting it over that bit of doweling, getting the nail and just pressing the nail point all the way down the seam. That will lock the metal into itself and make a really good tight join. And that will be the candle surround. So that once you've straightened it out, or at least curved it out to make a really good cylinder, you can plonk it over the candle, which is sitting in the saucer, and the light should shine through the holes. Lo and behold, there is your Christmas decoration.